Secret of the Stars. This was what many fans considered to be the worst episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures. They say it's boring, it doesn't make sense, the villain is weird. But honestly, I think this episode is great. Okay, not as great as some other episodes, but it's just great to look over. Astrologer Martin Truman causes a stir with his uncanny insights and predictions of what he calls the secret of the stars. Sarah Jane doesn't believe in astrology, but she does believe that all is not what it seems with Truman. But now, since Truman's plans and insights have been discovered, he does whatever it takes to let the ancient lights take over and form the Zodiac Circle. And now everyone around Sarah Jane are falling under Truman's sinister spell, and even Mr. Smith doesn't understand what is going on. This marks Ronnie's first full adventure in the show, and what a good way to start off. Much like with Maria's first adventure, in which it was her family under an alien control, except this one actually makes sense rather than just take a drink, put an alien inside, and there we go. These people are controlled by their star signs. Even I acted I was under his control when he said my star sign every time I watched it. And from the looks of it, Ronnie is actually getting used to it. Sarah Jane in the first act starts to try and find an explanation for everything. Like in the theatre, she thinks that some people are planted in the audience as part of the act, until Truman mentions the Doctor. For some reason, I always quote Truman's description about her life with the Doctor, and every time I say it or watch it, it gives me chills. Truman uses this to mock her following the Doctor's teachings. There is a moment in which Truman marks Sarah Jane's destiny in which she will lose. I still don't know whether it's the climax of this episode or whether it was meant for a future episode. Now, I will admit there are times in which Sarah Jane is trying to find the right answer, which I do find irritating. It's almost like she's not trying to save the world, but trying to be right, or trying to be the hero, which is not what Sarah Jane does. But then again, that's what most humans do. They try to do their best on what they believe is right, which is what she does in this episode. Luke serves a purpose in this episode. Since he wasn't born and was activated, he has no star sign or birthday, which does play a part in the climax. I won't say how, but even though it was predictable of how it comes into place, it actually makes sense. While I thought Bradley Walsh was okay in some parts of Day of the Clown, Ross Abbott is brilliant all the way through. There's something about Ross Abbott's acting as Truman which brings a sense of slimy sinister to him. Sure, he is over the top at some moments, but he is a comedian, and it's what he does. But his slimy talk overshadows his comedic antics. I literally like the scenes when he is acting like a fortune teller in which he actually has the power. And you understand why he's doing it. He wants to be a somebody, and there is no life for him on Earth. He's never had faith in anything, he's had a tough life, which is why he is taking this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Plus, his assistant, either that is just some dull bad acting, or that is the most frightening possessed human being in the show. Also, seeing Clyde possessed and almost killing again is the most terrifying and sad thing to watch in all of Series 2. For now anyway. Plus, I love his little catchphrase, "May the ancient light shine upon you." That gets me every time. Now let's talk about the one thing I think most fans have been complaining about. I think it's nice for the show to try and explore the fortune-telling, psychology and mysteries of people's star signs. And I will admit I did not understand it at first. Mr. Smith saying that nothing destroys Ronnie's jacket, nothing is controlling the people, etc. But the more time you watch it, you understand it a bit more. The stars aspect does get a little confusing, and I have only one thing to say about that, which might actually help describe how I feel about this episode. Experimental. I'm not an expert of astrology or astronomy, but I would consider this episode to be experimental. I have to admit, I don't understand the idea behind the power of stars, but then again, that's one of the things about Universe. You have no idea what's out there, whether it's good, bad, powerful, or just plain cool. That's what I find interesting about this story. Maybe there are some stars which are not all peaceful or bright or just plain dark. I think it's a good example of showing people's own faith or beliefs and how some answers can be found and which ones are not meant to be found. As the circle continues, you literally fear for who might be controlled. It might be your friend, your family, your co-worker, or just some random person you just met. I recently watched this episode with my mum and she was entranced by the episode. And I quote, she said that she was gone in the moment. And the moment the doorbell rang, it made her jump. almost like waking up from a bad dream. That's how cool this episode is. It entrances you. That is freaky. So overall, this is a really cool episode. And since it's written by well-known Doctor Who, Sarah Jane and BBC writer Gareth Roberts, it makes the whole thing even more exciting. By the power of the ancient lights, I accept this episode, and consider you to check it out for yourself.